Dear brothers, it's about quality, not quantity.
So guys, it should be your conversation, the way you flow, your presence is enough for a woman to want to be around you, not how much money you spend.
Dear sisters, it's about knowing your value.
My sisters out there, don't be afraid to scare a guy off just because you have standards.
Dear brothers, dear sisters, it's time to come together.
Hey, my classy people, as you can see, we have upgraded our intro with that little pizzazz and everything like that. But thank you all for tuning into DBDS Live. And listen, this show today, as I stated, we're not going to shy away from any topics. But I'm your host, Mel Money. I'm here with my brother, Carl. How's your weekend coming along so far, my man?
It's going great, man. I'm home for a change. And, I've been on the road. Everybody knows all the time. So this is cool. I get to see my boy, see my dog. He may make a guest appearance a couple of times. He's not listening, so Paolo may jump up and speak to the masses too. He might have some wisdom to drop.
Yeah, man, we need Apollo up here, man, on the show, because Apollo, man, listen, that dog been with you through thick and thin. You know, that's your lassie.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just want to mention to the audience that DBDS Live will not be available live on Father's Day because there's already special plans set up for yours truly. However, there will be a classic episode related to Father's Day that will play on that day. And listen, just a special shout out to all the men who are in their kids' life. You know, I just want to salute and I respect you all. And I'm sure my brother Carl, you know, I'm sure something is special planned for you. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, yeah, hopefully I'll be in town, but it looks like I will be. But yeah, I know my boys have got something they want to do. So it's it's wonderful being a father, and so I tell people it's we'll discuss some things tonight, but it's the importance of it, being a father, that role model, and being able to be involved with your children, whether you're with the mother or not.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I can totally agree with you on that. So listen, on June 26th, my people, make sure you mark your calendar. That would be the next Queen Takeover, where we have an all-woman panel, and they're going to break down relationship topics from a woman's perspective. So mark your calendar. And don't be surprised if they talk about that Michael B. Jordan situation along with Lori. So they may touch on that as well. Also, you want to check out our website, dearbrothersdearsisters.com. Listen, we have plenty of resources and tools that can help our brothers and sisters out there. So, if you're looking for a course, that we're going to expand on that very soon. There's so many things coming down the pike that's going to come very soon. If you're looking for a gym to read, we have that available. If you're looking for credible advice, we have that available. If you're looking for a coaching session, we also have that available. All right. So listen, today's show is going to be really good. You may think it's controversial, but again, DBDS, we do not shy away from any topics. Today's show is titled The Effects of Toxic Mothers. And let me first say that this show was not aimed at bashing sisters, but to stigmatize the poor traits that some may display as normal, such as being hostile, controlling, or lacking empathy, on having your kids around a variety of different brothers, rotating and sleeping with them, not knowing the effects that it has on your kids. All right. So what you think about this topic, my brother?
I think it's a long overdue topic. But again, like you said, it's not a bashing, and nothing we do is a bash session.
True.
We try to deal with the tough stuff from a growth purpose, in a growth place, and not just sit here and say, well, let's just talk about men and what they don't do. Let's talk about women and what they don't do. We don't ever do that. So even in this situation with this, we're touching on things that people don't want to deal with, but we're trying to deal with it from a mature standpoint. We're trying to deal with it from a place of, like I said, again, everybody growing and understanding things, and understanding the signs. of someone who's like that, and maybe not wanting to be in a relationship with somebody if they're showing those traits. It may help some people, I think, by the end of the show to turn around and be able to, if they can look in the mirror and say, you know what, I've done that. That's a plus, and now you take that and you go grow from it from a standpoint of, let me go get some help, let me figure out why I'm doing this, because like I said, there's so much we'll touch base on tonight. Again, some people, we can't please everybody, and we know some people are going to get upset. But there's like I said, the old saying, we'll stick with it. A hit dog will holler. And the one that got hit the hardest is the one that hollers the loudest, and that may be a situation that we deal with tonight.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. By the way, shout out to my sister Tiffany, Tanika, Toya, Amber, I see you. My brother Jarvis, salute to you, and excellent father Jarvis, shout out to you. My sister Lenore, my beautiful Lenore sister, and my brother Widgie. Thank you guys for all tuning in. Nah, you're right, man. I mean, sadly, we live in a society where certain sisters embrace the hood rat culture. So much that this mentality is being passed down to the next generation. And listen, I have to give credit to the sisters out there who don't, go towards that. The ones that know how to communicate in a respectful manner, or those who are responsible for the actions they take and don't blame everything on the man for their wrongdoing, just to name a few. All right.
Right.
So since this is a topic that's so much to unpack, man, let me go ahead and get our guests into the studio right now, man. Let's get them going. All right. So the first one coming into the DBDS live studio. Listen, this sister right here, she always have something positive to say, just based on the comments that she shares within the group. She is our DBDS moderator. She also has a book. I mean, she is doing amazing things. So I just want to welcome back my sister Cameryn, the DBDS live.
Hey Mel, hey Carl.
What's going on?
What's going on, Cameryn? So we have some new guests, some new people in the DBDS live studio. Just tell them a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and why you're on the show today.
Well, I hail from Atlanta, Georgia.
Woo.
I currently live in the metro Atlanta area. But as you stated, I am one of the DBDS moderators, which I take as a very honored position. So thank you all for having me. And I have dabbled in being an author. I do have a published book. And I also, I blog. I have a blog that's currently up and running called Dating No-Nos. No being KNOW, not like no-nos, but in essence, just trying to put a different spin on things about how people should show up to the dating scene, especially women who have experienced heartbreak, more specifically divorce. So that's pretty much what I enjoy doing in my leisure time.
Ooh, man, DBDS family going crazy. That's amazing, man. I'm glad that you just give back so much. And speaking of your blog, listen, my people, she has some blogs on dearbrothersdearsisters.com. I recommend for you to check them out and just digest it, absorb it, and I guarantee that will change your mindset for the better. So thank you, my sister, for coming back on, and I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. Ooh, love the effects, man. Love it. Next, coming to the DBDS live studio, man, I consider this brother family. Just this brother, man, he's very well spoken, has a lot of knowledge to give. I want to welcome back my brother Floyd to DBDS live.
Hello. How you guys doing today?
Hey, my brother. What's going on, my man?
I'm good. Blessed. Glad to be here another day. Looking forward to the show.
Absolutely, my man.
Forward to the show.
Me too, man. So listen, we have some new people up in the DBDS live studio. Just tell the people where you're from, a little bit about yourself, and why you're on the show today.
Yes, Floyd General, of course. I live in Paris, California, with my beautiful fiance that I'll be getting married to in September 18th. Okay. Thank you. Definitely, it's an honor to be a part of this family as well. Cameryn, Carl, and Tremel, just incredible. I consider you guys my brothers. So definitely, I appreciate it. I'm currently raising a 10-year-old son, which is my fiance's son. He's an incredible kid. And like Carl said, looking forward to Father's Day. Being a father is an incredible thing, and I love it. And just want to share some knowledge, and I want to see us do better as a people.
No doubt,
So
man.
that's why I'm here.
All right, man. Listen, very well said, man. Carl, as well as myself and you, we may get a grill for Father's Day, man, and we may get a new tie. I'm excited.
Yeah, maybe some socks.
Match your socks, man. Some suspenders. But yeah, Father's Day is approaching, and I'm telling you, sisters, right now, whoever's on my friend list, if I see a woman that says Happy Father's Day as herself, you will be deleted, and I will block you. So I'm just gonna put that out there right now. Right. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get on with the show, man, and thank you all for just tuning in. So listen, I believe this topic is way overdue because modern society mostly aim their attention at deadbeat fathers, which rightfully should. However, we fail to address and often do not discuss toxic mothers, which can also affect relationships, especially in our communities. So the first topic that we're going to touch on, which is very destructive, is toxic mothers. They tend to use manipulation to get what they want. So let me go ahead and size this up right here. My thing is that I call this mental murder because I feel like a narcissistic mother kills you in your mind by giving you the silent treatment, which is also known as passive aggressive behavior. And that can affect their kids into adulthood, which can lead to unhealthy relationships. For example, let's just say she got into a fight with her daughter and said some hurtful things. Now, instead of, as a real woman apologizing to her daughter for some of the things she said that was wrong, she would twist the situation to make herself look like a victim just to get her way and have more power. And this is no different from adults who were raised that way and take no accountability and use the same technique within their relationships. I also think this is a form of emotional abuse. All right. So first, I'm coming to my sister Cameryn. What are your thoughts on this particular topic?
I mean, I definitely agree with you about, basically it is mental murder. When you basically abandon your role, take advantage of your quote unquote position of power as it relates to a child and raising them. And to play mind games with a child, I think it's absolutely horrific. For those of you who don't know, I work in the mental health field for adolescents. So I see daily what the ramifications are of a mother who is manipulative. And a lot of times the child suffers greatly. But, at the end of the day, someone who feels the need to manipulate, they're also in pain. And they're just projecting it onto the child, which is, it's uncalled for, basically.
That is so true and very well said. Yeah, I mean, you hit so many things with what you just stated because, very, it's a dysfunctional way of thinking, and a lot of us are turning dysfunction to function, as you stated before we came on live. And, that's a narrative that has to change, So very well said, my sister. I'm coming to my brother Floyd. What is it that you want to add to this conversation?
I mean, I could definitely relate to what she's saying. I myself have gone through that, in my own, growing up as a kid myself, where if I tried to address certain situations with my mom, it was flipped around to make it seem like I was wrong, and she was the victim.
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
of course, our relationship is a lot better now, but I remember being that child wanting to get her attention and crying out for her to listen to what I had to say and to hear my pain. And it was flipped around um, to make it seem like something was wrong with me. You know, and after a while, you begin to feel like maybe there's something wrong with you as a child. Maybe, maybe you're the problem. Of course, as I've got, as I've gotten older, I began to realize that, like Cameron said, she herself was dealing with some undealt with issues from her past, which prevented her from giving me the attention and the love and the empathy that I needed. But again, growing up as a kid, you don't understand that. So
Yeah.
I think sometimes a lot of mothers don't realize that their pain transfers over to their children. And so when those kids become adult and become parents, how they was dealt with pertaining to certain situations, how they gonna deal with their children. And unless the cycle is broken, then a grandkid is gonna be passed on from one generation to the next. Um, so it's definitely need to be dealt with.
Yeah. Absolutely, my man. All right. Very well said, man. I think how you stated how this transfers over to adulthood, I call those mother and child relationships, as I describe in my book, Dear Brothers, Dear Sisters, Listen Up. And I just think that's where the man is not a leader, but more as an adopted son.
Hmm.
And she's not his lady. She's more as a surrogate mother.
Hmm.
And I feel like these relationships are common, especially within our communities, where some women prefer to have control over their man. And whenever you see a woman more masculine than her man, I think that creates imbalance, because the more masculine she is, the less affection she will be, the less nurturing she will be towards her counterpart. And she won't value him as if he is a man. So it
Hmm.
creates this imbalance and, issues within the relationship, So I'm coming to my brother Carl, man. I mean, what are your thoughts on this topic?
Definitely agree with Cam and Floyd is saying, and I agree. It's generational where we just because we've allowed things to manifest itself for so long. It's like if you look at these big old oak trees, and if you ever go try to take an oak tree up, you're never gonna get to the bottom root because
Word.
it's been growing for so long and it's so deep. And that's some of the issues we're dealing with when you look at this. Um, and I agree. Like you talked about the mother son relationship, and there's the mother daughter. When they're both toxic because it does play out later on in life and how they pick someone. So that manipulation. But you think about it when you always hear a lot of women say that they're trying to I'm battling his mother in the relationship. He's putting his mom before me,
Mm.
and there was a video. I don't remember if it was real or what, but it was like the mom jumped in the front seat of the car, and the wife was like,
Hmm.
"Whoa, your mom needs to sit in the back," and the
Mm.
guy was like stuck in the middle, and and the mom was like, "I raised you by myself. I did this. I did that. So that's that manipulation sometimes when realizing that if we follow the way we're supposed to when we leave, we're supposed to leave our parents and cleave to one another. So his wife should be in front of his mom. Doesn't mean he doesn't love his mother, but when they do so much, sometimes it becomes that way where they pull those puppet strings and say, well, remember me, remember what I did, remember what we didn't go with. And then you see the flip side, you have daughters that go through the same thing. And so yeah, they fall in a place where too where they may not be able to trust a man the way they need to, or
Mm.
they manipulate a man to get what they want themselves because they watched how their mother was manipulative and things that she's done. And again, this is not a bash about to anyone. This is
It's
just
not.
some things that happen, and sometimes, and I'll just be honest, sometimes because it's so generationally rooted, it's subconsciously done, and unless somebody points it out to the consciousness, you don't understand it. You don't even know it exists. So but those are just simple things right there that I think that happens. We kind of look at it, understand, we definitely know what the effects are as a child, but that effect later on in life, it really challenges how these people even date, why a lot of people are not able to maintain relationships, communication, because they're worried about being manipulated or manipulating. They're worrying about, having to keep this person at the forefront. I love my mom. I do dearly, but my mom understands that, when I'm married, my wife will always take precedence over her.
Right, of
There's
course.
no going to be no guilting or nothing. She just understands that's, you're married to her, and that takes priority over me. Doesn't mean I don't do for my mom, check on my mom, love my mom, but if you have a mother that's constantly making you choose between you and your spouse, and I just tell women, if you're making your son choose between him and his spouse or his girlfriend or whatever, you might need to take a look in the mirror.
Yeah, man, very well said, my brother. Very well said, Carl. And before we read some comments and I come back to my brother Floyd, some sisters who learn this behavior from their toxic mothers purposely, I think, use some of these techniques I mentioned at the beginning, like the silent treatment as a form of punishment, which is reflective within their relationship. For example, if they happen to have a disagreement with their partner, they will withhold sex from that man until they get what they want. And certain men within those relationships don't feel value. And then there's a host of other issues that come about from that sort of technique being used in a relationship. So before I come to you, my brother Floyd, let's just pull up some comments that are, wow, just coming a lot in. Let me go up to the first one. So first one here, guess.
Somebody waving.
Or somebody waving. All right, next one.
I love you guys. The truth and advice is so refreshing. Appreciate that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My parents ruined my life. My father was the abuser. My mother the enabler. Both narcissists. She warped my growth to the point where I'm 27. I've never had a job or been able to complete higher education. All I ever wanted was to leave this hellhole, but I'm clinically depressed and cannot get the help I need. Videos like these give me microdom of hope, though.
Okay. Appreciate that.
I really relate to this. My mom wanted to be the tough, strong leader in the family. My dad wasn't soft, but he didn't lead. This created a lot of resentment for me with both of my parents. Then in my mid-20s, after living with my aunt, she never liked when I talked normal. She always wanted me to talk more quietly.
Okay. Appreciate the comments. We'll pull up some more later on. Thank you all for tuning in. All right. So I'm coming to my brother Floyd. What is it that you want to add?
Yeah. I think it was something that Carl was saying. Even when a man gets married, because of that manipulation in a relationship, and if the mother's still there, the wife is competing with the mother, in a sense to say, well, if I buy my wife a car, I got to buy you a car. If I buy my wife a house, I got to buy you a house. And so even as an adult, he's still trying to get the green light to be able to move forward into his life. Everything, even as an adult, she's got to approve of everything that he does. His career, his relationships. If she feels like her son is giving too much attention to the wife, now she's jealous, she's envious. And that, and like Carl said, sometimes it's been so embedded in our psyche that we don't even recognize we're doing it. To us, it seems like it's normal. And even when somebody else brings it to our attention, we think that there's something wrong with them because it's become so normal for us. And it's I've seen it happen in people's lives that I know, in men's lives that I know, in women's lives that I know too.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, my brother. Thank you. It's definitely something that is very common, especially in our communities. And I'm glad for you and Cameron and Carl to be on this show to hit it and talk about it, so that way we can change the narrative. So I am going to pull up one anonymous question that one of our anonymous posters had, and I'm going to see which one we're going to do here. I'll do this one. Okay.
It says, my lady has mommy issues. If I disagree with her, she thinks I'm being disrespectful, but it's her way to control me. We have no kids together. What advice would you have to help her change her behavior?
All right, brother. So obviously it's coming from a man. So first I'll come to my sister Cameryn. Any advice you have for this brother?
My first question is going to be, has he brought up his concerns in a way that doesn't put her on the defensive, such as I feel like fill in the blank, when you do fill in the blank. Because
Gotcha.
at that point, he's taking ownership and accountability for his feelings, and he's just highlighting a behavior that she does. Like Floyd and Carl have said, that sometimes people can be so used to seeing certain behaviors modeled in their families for years that that's just their normal way of operating in the world, and until they come across someone who operates differently and moves differently. But I applaud this brother for recognizing, hey, this doesn't feel good. I know something needs to change, not quite sure how to go about that. So I applaud him for bringing this up and asking the question.
Okay, very well input. Floyd, what advice you have for this brother?
Similar to what Cameron was saying, I think not understanding where this is coming from is very important. How you approach her,
Okay.
because she, like, again, she may be doing some things that's so embedded in her that she may not be aware of it. But I think how you bring it to her attention is going to be either how she's going to be defensive or receive it. I think also the question is, have you guys sought out any type of therapy or counseling? Because you and her have a relationship. Can you bring somebody that's totally biased to say, okay, wait a minute, can you please help me to explain to her how I feel, that have, and vice versa, that person can speak for you to her, and back and forth. Because sometimes when we're involved with each other for so long, we're not hearing each other. So it takes somebody else to come in and to really say, well, this is how your husband is feeling, or okay, well, this is how your wife is feeling. So I think therapy would be a good idea. Some type of counseling would be a good idea.
Okay. Very well said. Very well said. And my brother Carl, man, any advice you have in regards to his girlfriend just controlling him?
Well, I think the question I have multiple questions. I agree everything Cam said and Floyd. I think the thing for me is, how does she respond when you do agree to her? So
okay.
if we just were agreeing, how would she respond? The other thing too is, when you're disagreeing, is it a argument? Is it a and again, because we're all entitled to our own opinions,
Right.
and that's the way you have to maybe voice that to her in some ways, to let her know that she can't, if she and again, I'd say it this way: if you feel like that you have to be right all the time, then this relationship's not right for us, because that's not healthy. That's why you have two people there, because you're working together to come to a common denominator of one versus the two different opinions. And if she's not willing to see somebody else's opinion, and if she's doing that to you, I'm sure she's doing it to other people. I'm sure there's a track record of some other stuff there. But as far as helping her to change her behavior, I'm going to say this. A person will only change their behavior when they realize they have a behavior problem. So she's not going to change until she realizes. You can tell her till you're blue in the face. You can leave her. You can pack up your stuff, move out, do it. You can do everything you want to do. She's not going to see it. I don't care if her girlfriends tell her, her mama tell her, until she realizes it's like an addict. Until you can stand up and say, "Hey, my name is so and so. I have a problem." Until she's willing to do that, her behavior is never going to change. But I agree with Floyd. Therapy may be, counseling, a neutral third party that doesn't know the two of you sitting there, and let her pick the person. That way, she doesn't feel like you're manipulating her and controlling the situation by picking that person, and she feels like you talked to them already. Let her pick the person, and then you go in and talk and share your side. She shares her side, and let that person be a neutral person to try to give some feedback.
Okay, man. Appreciate that, man. Man, I'm telling you, DBDS, man, you guys be dropping nuggets, man. I'm gonna have to just drop a mic on that one. So my thing is, I'm just gonna state right quick before we convert over to a commercial break. I mean, brother, you can't change her, as Carl stated. And keep in mind, listen, if she changed for you, it's only a band-aid that will reveal itself as time goes on. But if she changed for herself, then it can become impactful. And listen, bro, another thing I want to put up, if you've been putting up with this for a very long time, then you already reinforce the mistreatment that you're receiving. So, communicate with her, seek therapy, and hopefully that therapy session will help you as well as your girlfriend if this is someone you want to see going forward on the next level. All right. Okay, my people. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. This is DBDS Live. Don't you go anywhere. All right.
You and I, we talk all the time, and really, man, I just give much love and appreciation to you for founding DBDS and starting it, man, because it's not normal. There's so much banter back and forth, and just like you and I talked earlier, before we got on, who's going to raise the white flag first?
Hey, that's beautiful.
Hi, I'm so excited. This is my first queen takeover. Usually I'm in with the fellas, but I'm excited today.
So once again, I want to thank this amazing panel and much love to the DBDS family.
Mel, take it away.
Mel.
Are you single? Do you know about DBDSsingles.com? Are you ready to meet a quality man or classy woman? The DBDS brothers want you to know that love and loyalty still exists. So if you're ready to meet relationship-ready people, sign up today at DBDSsingles.com. Let's make love and loyalty dope again.
All right. Welcome back to the DBDS Live studio. Listen, I am here with my sister Cameryn, my brother Floyd, and my brother Carl. And listen, we've been talking about the effects of toxic mothers. But before we get going with our show, I'd just like to give a shout out to some people that just tune in. Shout out to Tiffany Lee, my sister Tamika Borders, to Valerie Surrett. Shout out to your moms. Shout out to my man Arif that's watching the show from across seas. Thank you. He's on my personal page. And thank you all, if I haven't mentioned, for tuning in. We appreciate it. So we're going to go ahead and dive into our second topic, which is very critical and signs of a toxic mother. And the second one is she tries to control the child's father. Man, this is like an ongoing story. So let me size this up here. So I feel like this is very common, especially in our communities, which has dire consequences. For example, some sisters, out of spite, will use their children as pawns to continue to get favors from their child's father, even if they're not in a relationship with them, or if their child's father has moved on to someone else because it didn't work out. Or they may be looking to obtain more money for themselves and not their kids. or they simply don't want their child's father to be happy with anyone else. And listen, I know some good fathers who personally I know that is going to court trying to fight just to get an ample of time to spend with their kids. But they can't do it because the toxic mother has this way of using the narrative to control them. And this is something that has to stop. All right. So first, listen, I'm coming to my brother Floyd. What are your thoughts on this particular topic?
Again, I can relate to that. When I left, when me and my son's mother had separated, when I went into the relationship, I was taking care of two boys that wasn't mine. And when we ended the relationship and I moved on, and I was dating, as long as I was dating and not talking about marrying another person, everything was good. The moment that I said, okay, well, I'm about to get married, all of a sudden now I get a notice at the door saying that I owe, for child support. Now, mind you, now I'm already taking care of two boys that's not mine, plus my son, but out of bitterness and out of spite, now I'm going to court, and I'm thinking, wait, what's going on here? Once she found out that that I'd moved on, then it became difficult for me to see my kids. It was like, well, I'm going to pick them up at the last minute. No, you can't come get them, and it was just that manipulation, even to the point where it got so bad to where my youngest stepson, I'd been in his life from when he was 1 year old until he was 15. Out of spite, she told him, against my consent, that I wasn't his father. Me and his relationship has never been the same since. Even though I've tried to say, look, I'm the father that you've always known, but she sowed so much ill will and lied because she knew that would hurt me, not realizing that years later, the repercussions that it's had on this young man. So while my son had the benefits of having me in his life, this young man that didn't have a father, in the beginning, I became his father. That relationship was ruined. And if you see the difference between how my son became a man and how he became a man, she controlled the whole thing, and she never apologized, never took accountability for the damage that she caused with my stepson.
Man. Well, first off, I appreciate your vulnerability for sharing that story. And this is something that's, I'm sure a lot of people, as well as our brothers, can relate to. There's gunmen out there, and they shouldn't have to go through this because it does impact the children, which can it can make it more challenging for them to form healthy bonds as they get older in these personal relationships. So again, thank you, and I salute you, my brother. I truly salute you. Coming to my sister Cameryn, what are your thoughts on this particular topic?
Yeah, thank you, Floyd, for sharing. Basically, I was on the other side of the fence as it relates to your situation. 10 years ago, I was in a position where my marriage was failing. It had failed. It had died. And a decision had to be made that, we were going to live separate lives, but we had two children between us. So I'll never forget saying a prayer to God. Please do not let bitterness and hatred take root in my heart. I said, I have no idea what my next steps are. I said, but please just give me that. Because I didn't want the personal stuff that was happening between my children's father and I to impact them growing up to be healthy and stable human beings. And at the time they were very young, so at the end of the day, they really didn't need to know much of anything other than the logistics of things.
Right.
That their father was going to live in one house, we were going to live in another house, and he would come to see them every other weekend. And so, that was another thing. I had seen many women use their children as pawns against the men to control them. And, I was like, the child always loses in situations like that. And even if you do use the child as a pawn, it's only going to be for a moment, kind of like an orgasm. Like it's a fleeting high. And in order to maintain that high, you've got to continue to behave that way. And to me, that was exhausting. When I saw it happening, when I heard stories about it happening, like it made no sense to me. Because at the end of the day, I'm a mother. I have the responsibility of raising these two children in a healthy, whole environment, and that's my main priority. What he does is none of my business.
Gotcha.
Seriously. Like, I took that attitude. And even when people would ask me, family members, girlfriends, so what is he doing? And I see him on Facebook and blah, blah, blah. I said, I don't care. I don't know.
Right.
That was always my answer. I don't care, and I don't know.
Man. Whew. Thank you again for the vulnerability and the story you shared as well. And again, this is, by these stories being shared, it just shows that there's an issue that needs to be addressed, right? And it doesn't just affect young boys. Keep in mind, this also affect young girls, when you have a toxic mother, I'm coming to my brother Carl. What is it that you want to add to this conversation?
Yeah, I definitely appreciate Floyd and Cameryn, their vulnerability, transparency. That's what we're about here. Being able to take real life examples and showing people these things do happen. And in some cases, how to overcome those circumstances and situations. But yeah, it's upsetting. And first, I want to applaud the mothers that don't do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I would love to give a recognition to the mothers who are working with the fathers who are working with the mothers to for the betterment of the child. And again, it's only so far you can go when things. I went through it when I went through my divorce. I tried to co-parent. It didn't work. My oldest was kind of in a place where I didn't have to worry about him as much. My youngest one still was, freshman in high school. There's still responsibilities, but, I learned that if it wasn't being done her way, then it wasn't the way it was going to get done. And that's where it was the control would try to come in and I just ignored it and I would just do what needed to be done. So it's unfortunate that this happens, but trying to control a father, and a lot of times it comes from, I've seen it, and again, talked to, like I said, hundreds of men that I've dealt with, he's paying child support, court ordered, and because he won't give her an extra $25 a week, she won't let him see the child when he's supposed to, and then now you got to go back to court to fight that. But it's costing him money every time he goes back to court to do that. The child suffering. I've had a lot of people who have gotten older and didn't realize, the mother kept the father away from them because he wouldn't do what she wanted him to do. And he's showing the receipts, we lived here because he didn't pay child support, but he paid $100 and something thousand, $200 something child support over the life of the child. But where did the money go? Again, that's a whole nother topic show. I always believe in receipts, but that's things that are really happening out there. So like I said, again, the child suffers.
Yeah.
it took two people to bring the child into this world.
Right.
And it takes two people to raise that child.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it takes two, and you never stop being a parent. That goes on, And like I used to tell my ex, I said, hey, look, we make it real simple. We can get a divorce, we can go down this path, do all these different things, but our sons are going to graduate. Our sons are going to get married. We're going to have grandkids. We're going to be around each other till we go to the grave. And so you trying to control me is not going to work. That type of thing's not going to happen. We need to be able to work together for the kids. And I don't think a lot of people see that, but I've heard so many horror stories of men. I've seen men cry because they can't see their kids. I've seen men cry because their children, hate them, because they were never around, but it wasn't their choice. And I always hear a lot of people say, well, they need to fight harder. The father needs to fight harder than the father. But why should he have to fight at all? That's the question needs to be asked. Why should he have to fight at all?
Right.
And it cost. Like I said, it cost. And that's the sad part.
Yeah. Oof. I never seen so many comments in my life. This is a show that we have to do a part 2 on. Floyd, before we come to you, I have to bring some comments into the forefront. Okay, my brother. Man, let's go to this one right here. I think we read that one already. Here we go.
There's a reason why a lot of fatherless young men go to the military.
Okay.
My mother was very toxic and a church-going woman. I also never had my dad around. I had to learn on my own.
I mean, I said church-going woman.
Yeah,
that's deep.
I could say a bunch on that as a pastor, but I
mean, to the audience, the people that's watching the show, can a sister be toxic if she's going to church Sunday, Bible study Wednesday night, Friday? They still can have those traits? I'll let the audience drop some comments on that.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's deep, man. Wow. All right, next one.
I'm a stay-at-home mom of a 4-year-old son. My father was absent. I grew up with 4 sisters, but didn't affirm my feminine side because I was too scared. Although I feel very feminine because I had to be tough and strong to deal with the mess I was left with. I took the control, and I was too brave at times with my decisions. My husband grew up with toxic females and didn't develop his masculinity in the way that I now see as healthy.
Wow, brother. Whew. These comments are long and just.
I went through the same thing as this guy. My dad died when I was a kid. My mom overpowered and was dominant over me, even her spouse. I was exposed to the yes man and destroyed my perspective on relationships with women. I'm 25 and I've been going through a spiritual awakening. This has been teaching me how to be a man more than anything. But I have to say my spiritual awakening has literally been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Wow. Congratulations to you. Yeah, applaud you, man. All right. Shout out to my sister Miaka. She's coming on to the Queen Takeover the 26th. This is from Miaka.
Hey, Miaka. That's true, Paul. They tell these men to fight, but who's going to pay for this fight? Courts and lawyers ain't never been free.
Right.
Oh, man.
And the reverse is this before we go to the next one. The reverse is if a woman goes to the court system to file for child support, do whatever, they give her a free lawyer. They give her, she gets all this stuff for free to fight him where he's got to pay to fight. How is that? But this, like I said, this is, again, one of the other systematic things we talk about. It brings up the divide, but we move on.
Absolutely. Pull up a couple of more comments, then we'll come to my brother Floyd.
This is what is nowadays. Mother and father doesn't understand it takes 2 people to have a child, but a village to raise it. That is what helps determine who the child turns out to be. Some of these females need to stop being so bitter and move on. Was that from Betts? Was that Betts? Yeah, McKenzie.
Oh, shout out to Betts. Yes.
My mother raised me to rationalize through emotion. My reaction is this: because of you, and it's your fault, or my emotional escalation is justified because I am the creator and the carer of you. This is a normal reaction to the stress or any adversity. It took a good 5 years to unlearn this after being thrown into the working world. It made my life very difficult.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And the question I threw out there, can a church-going woman still be toxic? And this is from my sister Angela.
Can a church person be toxic? Can a bird fly? Same answer.
Appreciate
Absolutely.
that. All right. So I'm coming back to my brother Floyd. What is it that you want to add to this conversation, my man?
Just the comments alone says a lot about what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Going back to what I was, going back, my son, when my son came to live with me, the mindset was he was being told, well, he had been told some things about me even before he came to live with me. So when my son came to live with me, he was looking for those things to be manifesting in my home. So now my son is in the house and he's looking like, wait a minute, all the stuff that I'm being told about my father, I'm not seeing it. Now he's in a battle between, why would my mother lie to me? I don't see these things that I'm being told about this man. So now it's conflicting, because now the child don't want to believe that the mother is lying to him about his father that he loves. Anyways, make a long story short, I like what the brother said. I literally had to go, because one thing I never done, as many times as she tried to demonize me, I never one time said anything negative about her, because I knew that at some point he'd get old enough to find the truth out for himself.
Right.
Gotcha.
And eventually when he did come to me and ask me, he was old enough for me to explain to him what happened. Going back to my stepson, the challenges that my son faced, where he had me to help him through those challenges when he became a father, my stepson didn't have that. I mean, no, my son's not a father, but when my stepson became a father, he went through a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of questions. She could not answer those questions for him, where I would have been in his life to help him to answer some of those questions. I was missing.
Wow.
So when my son that lives in Atlanta was pulled over by a police officer, and he was scared, Dad, I don't know what to do. I'm a black man out here. I just got pulled over in a dark spot. He can call me, and I could explain to him how to handle a situation. So many young men out there that's facing this world, they don't have that male figure to help them navigate through this world, and especially a young black male or that's trying to figure out what's a man, how to survive in the neighborhood if I get pulled over by police. It's so many different instances that I have been a benefit to my son, because I have been in his life, where I work with so many young men on a regular basis that they've never had accountability or structure, and then we wonder why so many young men are acting amok, because who has been there to teach them anything?
There you go, man. Thank you for sharing again. This is this kind of show that will be replayed over and over again. It's a must. We have to do a part 2. Definitely a must. So I'm coming back to my brother Carl. What is it that you want to add?
There's something Floyd said real quick. There's a lot of men out here who don't have male figures. And I want to just touch something. I know it's not the topic. We're really on something, but I want to put it in the middle of this where we're at, though. We need to make better decisions who we're having children with. Now,
brother.
Now, here, and granted, marriages end. Okay, I always tell people I'm not anti-divorce. I'm pro-marriage. I'm,
Right.
I'm about
Right.
doing everything you got to do to try to save your marriage. If it don't, sometimes you got to just wave the white flag and walk away.
Gotcha.
But even in that case, the two of you had children together. You need to be able to work together and co-parent.
Mhm.
I'm not talking to those people. I'm talking to the people who are single, running around here having kids with anybody. You know, everybody applauds Nick Cannon, who's about to have 15 babies with 9 women because he's got money.
Yeah.
You know, there's this other guy that's out there. I think he had 32 kids. Most of them look the same age. I can't remember. And he's like, I got money. My pockets are deep, and my stuff is deep, and all this other. This is toxic, and the accountability falls on both sides.
Right.
You know, so my thing is this, and I'm gonna talk to the ladies. If you're single and you're deciding to be with someone, and you're not making him strap up, and he walks away, and you got a kid, you can't be bitter and angry at that point in time. But you need to allow that man to be in that child's life. It's better for him to kind of be sorry in his life than to not have anybody in his life. And again, unless he's doing drugs and he's abusive or some of those other, something that's bad for the child,
right?
He needs to be in life. And men, if you out here shooting up the club, you need to be responsible. You need to go back and be there for your children, and you need to have a sensible conversation with this type of thing. But this goes back to, like I said, the control, the manipulation, everything that comes into play. But you need to have better decisions. So if you're willing to be an adult and lay down and have sex with somebody, then you need to lay down. You need to lay your pride and egos aside and be an adult and help to do what's best for children who have no say in everything else that's going on. That's all I'm going to say.
Man, I'm gonna go ahead and continue to read some comments. This show obviously is touching a lot of people out there. So I'm gonna come back to my sister Bets right here.
That's it. Also, keep the child out of grown issues. It puts pressure on the child, like you're making the child choose.
Yeah,
and that's not fair.
Oh yes, I hear that a lot too. Like if it's with the custodial parent, they'll try to villainize, like make the other parent the villain, and start brainwashing their head, even though that's a good father. Oh man, that's for Mia.
Women, for Mia, because she said women need to be healed from their pain of disappointment and other things connected to the roots of rejection that lead to pure manipulation, and toxic behavior.
Very well said, Mika. Yes,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
What's interesting is I grew up with the absolute disdain for my mother because she would leave me at the babysitters. Looking back, that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Lest I be raised by her and my 2 older sisters.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for that, my peoples, for the comments. And the comments are coming in. Please keep on coming in. Shout out to my sister Latoya that just tuned in. My sister Angela. My sister Rachel Hernandez. Lisa Sugar. Shout out to the whole DBDS family. We're going to pull up one more anonymous question. I'm sorry we cannot pull up all of them because we got to keep the show going, but we're just going to pull up one. And this comment comes from, here we go. Put this on the screen.
So I was wrong. While I was with my man, I cheated on him, and he's not the father of my son, but I knew he was a good man, so I lied knowing he would be there. My son is 18. Should I tell him the truth? Okay, let me go first on this because I know this person.
Ooh. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I won't say who, but I know someone who went through this. Actually, I know a couple of men that have gone through this. And I always used to say, does it make a difference? But it really does. And that man does deserve to know the truth. Now, whether he goes back and tells the child is up to him at that point in time.
Right.
But that man deserves to know the truth. And if he decides to do that, then the two of you can sit down with the child and tell him that. But this is something that we talked about, and I'm not this no way, shape, or form. I appreciate your honesty and your ability to even put this out here. Trust me, I'm not even coming to. But this happens more than we know. There are married men raising children that are not
their children
because the wife cheated. And again, I know everybody talks about women don't cheat. It's been going on since the beginning of time. I'm sorry, women just better at it. It's just that simple. But it's hard. And so for me, I would sit down with the man and be honest, because I'm telling you this. I'm going to say it this way, and I'm going to pass it on to my brother and my sister. This is going to eat at you like a cancer.
Yes.
And it's going to send you to your grave early. Believe me, it is, knowing this lie. That's all lies do. They eat at you. They eat at you. And it's going to eat at you. And the worst thing you want to happen is your son finds out before you tell the father, or he can be told by both of y'all. So my answer to you, have a sit-down conversation, tell the father. He may get mad, yell, scream, holler, do whatever. Just be prepared. Prayerfully, I pray it doesn't become physical. I just, because we don't know how somebody's going to react, because that's hurt. That's hurt.
Yeah.
You know, when a man decides to become a father and he really steps up and he's taking care of a child and doing stuff, that's being a father. He ain't trying to be a dad. He wants to be there for everything. And that's going to hurt. So just be prepared for that. But I definitely appreciate your vulnerability, but I would definitely sit him down and talk to him about it. And then you guys make a decision if it's worth even telling your son that. And again, one last thing. From a medical standpoint, if something ever happened to your son and they needed blood or something or whatever, his dad would never be a match for anything because he's not biologically his.
Right.
Oh, man. Yeah. Thank you for that advice, Carl. Coming to my sister Cameryn, what advice you have for the sister?
Definitely, I agree with Carl. I too know of situations like this on either side, coming from the man's perspective and a woman's perspective. The truth needs to be told. And, my suggestion is, I'm always going to fall back on therapy, instead of, if you don't feel like you're equipped to have that conversation in a way that you feel like you're maybe going to fall back on some excuses, definitely go do a trial run with a therapist, because it's not going to just impact your life, but it's going to impact the life of this man and your son. There's more people to be considered than just you.
Very well said. Appreciate that nugget for the sister. And finally, I'm coming to my brother Floyd. Sister put it out there. She stated she was wrong. What advice you have for her?
First of all, like everybody said, I have to applaud her for even stepping up and saying that. I know it's not easy to say that. Again, like everybody said, I really like what Carl said, what Cameryn said, seek out some type of professional, because like Cameryn said, it's going to impact everybody. Again, like I said, I know how important it is to have a male in a child's life. I've raised several children that wasn't mine. It's very, very important. Very, very important. Again, like they said, you don't want the father or the child to find out on their own,
right? Because
then it's going to be even more devastating. So definitely, like, sit down with them, be honest. I know it's going to be, it's going to be painful. But if he has a bond with that child, if you do it the right way, they'll come. You guys will come through it. Because again, he may not have been the biological father, but he is, the father of that child. So it all depends on how you handle it.
Man, very well said.
Absolutely.
And great advice. Yes.
The spiritual father. He may not be his biological father, but he's his spiritual father. He's
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Ooh, very well said from the DBDS. Before we hit one last commercial break, let me just pull up some other comments right quick from my sister Mika.
She said, "Plant your seeds wisely." Yes.
See, Carl, I think Apollo wanted to say that, man. And I just let's see what else my sister states.
He absolutely deserves the truth. They both do.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
I pray for the heart of the woman to be free. It's no way to make it not hurt.
Yeah.
Right.
But truth frees everyone from the lie and leads to healing. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes.
True.
When you decide to get a divorce, it's between the two of you. You are not divorcing your children. They still need both parents. Stop using them as a tool against one another. Show them how they should handle the trials they will face in life by showing them good examples on how you should treat someone when life presents changes.
Absolutely.
All right. Very well said, man. For the DBDS family right here.
Indeed.
Listen, I wish I could stretch my arms and have everyone on the show, like 100 people, because all of you guys are dropping nuggets, and not one person watching this show is being defensive on this topic. So I applaud you guys for watching the show. Right. Man, and one more topic for comment for my sister Miyako.
Oh, that's so good.
Yes. All right. So we're going to go ahead and take one last commercial break. When we come back, we're going to hit the last topic real quick, and then we're going to touch on our Jerry Springer moment. This is DBDS Live. Don't you go anywhere.
So many people are calling for police reform. And so because they're calling for police reform, they may not understand that there are many organizations who are already responding.
And I feel like you have to really get to know people, see if they share the same core values as you before you get involved with them.
I want to ask a question as to how we got to this place right here where mask wearing, where COVID-19, where public health is all politicized. I really want you all to think about this. How did we get to this particular point?
It's really a nice balance when femininity and masculinity can mix together and just create this awesome, experience.
All right, welcome back. This is DBDS Live. I'm your host, Mel Money, here with my sister, DBDS moderator, Cameryn, my family, my long looks brother that I just found out in industry, my brother, Floyd, and my brother, Carl the Coach. We are all dropping nuggets. Today's topic is the effects of toxic mothers. So we're going to hit on our very, very last topic, and the very last one that is very destructive is she's modeling pain by lacking empathy. So let me tell you how important this is, and I'll break it down right quick. So my thing is that empathy is the ability to consider and understand another person's emotional experience, and it plays an important role in parenting. And the reality is, children learn how to have empathy for others by experiencing empathy from their parents, right? Especially their mothers. But the truth is, toxic mothers often lack empathy with their children, and they are inconsistent in expressing love, understanding, warmth, which can affect their relationships until adulthood. So first, I'm coming to my sister Cameryn. What are your thoughts on this particular topic?
Well, and you all can relate to this. There are no days off as a parent.
Right.
As a parent, you are always on. You are all, especially when you are, in the sights of your children, where they can absorb everything you say, watch everything you're doing. So that's something to be very aware of, as a parent. Like, I know my children, I have a son and a daughter, and I encourage them to ask questions when they don't understand something rather than use their immature, I guess, repertoire or small repertoire knowledge to try to figure out their world. If they have questions and it's, something different that they've experienced than what is being taught in our home, ask a question about it. And, if you're really tuned into your child, when they're hurting, when they're upset, they get quiet or they just don't act normal. Instead of berating them, in essence, trying to dismiss or not validate what they may be going through, instead of beating them upside the head, like you need to do X, Y, and Z, you need to act better, you need to perform better. What's going on? What's wrong? What has happened? And, a lot of times what I find with children is that they don't always have the language for what they're feeling.
Right.
And so instead of there's a very fine line of guiding them through the process of trying to answer or find the language, and on the other side of that, where you're planting in their heads, oh, you feel like this. It's like, oh gosh, like guide them, because that's what our job is, of course, to protect them. But as we're protecting them, or guiding them, we're protecting them. Okay, well, how about seeing things this way? And again, that goes back to a parent who's not so fixed minded, where it's my way or no way. And, I think it was mentioned earlier, how you are in one environment is how you are in all environments. And, that's something to really be aware of when it comes to being a parent and, for me, a mother. And, when I feel like there's there's something that I can't explain to my son because I'm not a man, I will definitely reach out to his father and say, hey, look, I'm having trouble with this. Can you help me? Can you talk to him? This is what I'm seeing. I'm not even going to try to attempt to give him advice from a male's perspective, because that's not my lane. That's not my wheelhouse. And I'm not going to fake the funk and act like it is just because they live with me. So,
Okay. Oh, very well said. And you shouldn't have to. And, appreciate you offering your insight like always. Coming to my brother Floyd, man, what advice, what my input you have on this particular topic?
I can personally speak on that myself. With my relationship with my mother. It's difficult for someone to show empathy to their child if they're not healed in certain areas of their life where they themselves have been hurt, or they themselves have not been shown empathy.
Gotcha.
Like I said, moving forward now, there are some things in my mother's life that occurred where she was struggling, and because she was trying to mother from a place of pain. And it's so many women that's mothering from a place of pain. You may want to show empathy to your child, but you're so hurt, you can only show what you got, which is pain and hurt.
That's deep.
So unless you get healed and learn to forgive yourself and heal yourself, because see, you're either going to love from a place of hurt or from a place of healing. That also includes your children. And so, again, a child don't understand, well, mommy been hurt by daddy, mommy been going through some stuff. That's why mommy can't give me empathy, and that's why mommy can't love me. A child don't know that. All a child knows is that right now, I need your attention, I need your time, and I need your love. But if she don't have no self-love for herself, how can she give something to her child or anyone that she don't have to give to herself? And so as I've gotten older, looking back, I'm like, wow, um, she just didn't have it to give, you know. But we have to. It's so vital that you do the work on yourself because, like Cameron said, anywhere that you're not healed, it's gonna spill over into every area of your life. And I don't care if it's your career, your job, how you treat yourself when it comes to your health.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is going to be affected by you not being healed.
Very well said. Very well said, Floyd. And I see this all too often. And some of these traits that may have been examples for those that was raised by a toxic mother is being extremely critical of other people or their partner, or, they seem immune or unaware of other people's feelings in their significant other, which can come across as if they're cold-hearted, and that can definitely decrease the attraction level. But these are some of the traits you witness. I'm coming to my brother Carl. What is it that you want to add to this conversation?
Yeah, definitely. When you talk about modeling pain by lacking empathy, it just without that part that a child has early on, it causes them to not know how to control their emotions. See, so this child is going to be, instead of being able to figure out what the medium spectrum is, they're going to be at the opposite end of the spectrum. They're going to be emotionless, which is dangerous, or they're going to be overly emotional, which can be dangerous also. But emotionless is definitely more dangerous than somebody who's emotional. At least they're showing something. But that's something that, and I know people were like, well, how can that happen? How can a mother not show empathy for her child? How can a mother not show? And I think a lot of it, this is Floyd just described too, was the pain that they've gone through, the things that they've gone through, and sometimes, and even and again, I know we're talking about mothers, but even like as fathers, you get to a point, you're like, well, nobody was there for me, nobody did this for me, so you figure it out. And so you have some mothers that have that same mentality. Nobody helped me out. I was a single mom at 16, and I had to do it my own, and had to do this. So when a child is upset, you're like, deal with it, and that's how it comes off to them. So now this child is like, oh wow. And this is how children start gravitating to the street. You think about it. Some young men end up in a gang because that gang embraces them.
Right.
And people are like, oh man, gang with empathy? Yeah. They're giving what his mother's not giving him. And then you have young ladies who end up into a toxic relationship, in some cases with an older man, an abusive man, or maybe even a same-sex man, because they're getting something that they're not getting at home from their mother. Because that person is being empathetic to them, and is embracing them, and is helping them. And that's where, like I said, a lot of kids, they go out to the street and deal with this stuff. And I think a lot of people don't realize the damage is being done, and that's causing more pain. And it's causing more layers that have to be peeled away. So it's just like a bad scab. You peel it away. Sometimes there's a little other wound underneath it. You peel more. You're trying to get to that fresh new skin. And it may take time to peel and peel and peel and peel those layers back from there. But yeah, absolutely. If you're not showing any type of empathy to your child, you're causing them pain. You may not see it, but you're pointing them in a direction that's going to cause pain, and it may cause you some pain. To have a doorbell ring because your son decided to join a gang and now he's no longer here. Those are things that happen. Your daughter hits the streets and is running the streets and is abducted and now is part of the trafficking that's out here. All these different things. And again, children have different mindsets, but if you have both parents working together, your odds are less. I mean, if the numbers don't lie, the numbers don't lie. You know, you think about it. How many, you know, a young man without a father figure, especially in the Black community, is more likely to be dead, in a gang, or in jail.
In jail.
That's it. That's the top three. Not a doctor, not a plumber, not college. Dead, in a gang, or in jail. That's the top three for a Black man of a single mother. And again, it's no knock against single mothers, because I know there's some of them that's holding it down and doing the best they can do.
Right.
But if you're keeping the father away, that's causing more issues. But if you can't help to develop and show any type of empathy to your child, you're hurting them.
Right.
You're hurting your child every day by doing that. And if you can't do it because you don't have the capacity to do it, that means you need help yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and do it with your child. Go get the help with yourself, with your child, so your child can see the vulnerability and why you may not have gave that, and it helps the both of y'all at the same time.
Very well said, women. Yeah, I mean, I always state that, you know, there's always a equal or greater reaction based on the action itself. You know, so if you're displaying these things, as you mentioned, Carl, that child will try to fill that void somehow, somehow, you know. So very true. I'm going to come up to a couple of comments before I come to my brother Floyd. Whoever you are, Stilino Pickles Bubbles, I'm not pulling up your comments. Don't know who you are, but we'll go to this comment right here.
Boys need to grow up with a good father figure in order to understand how to be a man. But if that's not an option, the next best thing is to turn to different mentors or online figures. I think it's great that you all are giving those who need guidance some insight. I appreciate DBDS.
All right. Thank you.
Nice.
Check that.
Such a great subtopic. Learning how to show empathy is a skill that needs to be learned.
Absolutely. Thank you, Latoya. That's from Latoya Watson. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can only give what you have.
Yes, absolutely, Mika.
You have to heal in order to expand your capacity.
Very well said. Thank you, DBDS family. Coming back to my brother Floyd, what else you want to add to this topic?
Oh man, I mean, such a great topic. Growing up as a young man and not having a father, not having a validation, not having shown what a man is, especially growing up in certain neighborhoods where, back in my age, but you know, the topic was, if you're not a man, you know, you're not a man until you go to jail at least one time. That was one. And then back in my generation, it was called Generation X. So it was like, you know, the mindset was by 18 you'll be dead. So in my mind, because I never had no one to validate my importance or my value, I could only believe in what I was hearing, that either I'll be a deadbeat father or I'm going to be dead by 18. Because there was no strong male figure telling me, hey, you know something, you're important. You'll live past 18. I remember when I was about to turn 18, I was scared because I was believing what the narrative was over my life. So guess what? Everything that I was doing, because I was hurting, not having the love and the care, I was living as if my life didn't matter. You know, and so that's why it's so important to have that male image there, because that's where a young man learn his importance, learn that he matters, learn that he's not just a seed dropper. You know, he learns his responsibility to say, look, something, you're a protector, you're here to guide, and to nurture as well as provide for. But if you don't have that, you know, what are you left with? So, uh, all the topics that we talk about, I could relate to every single one of them.
Very well said, my brother. And before we pivot to our Jerry Springer moment, I'm just going to pull up one more anonymous, not a question, it's just an anonymous comment right quick. And it reads here.
This is a great topic. I feel that mostly toxic mothers don't realize the harm they are doing. The men that they complain about are the same ones they are raising. Simps and overly emotional men.
Oh, okay. All right, man. This show is just we have to do a part 2. We definitely have to do a part 2. So listen, we're gonna go ahead and pivot right over to our Jerry Springer moment. Listen, if you missed this episode from the beginning, we will replay throughout the weekend. Also, just make sure you check us out. We're also available on Amazon Music, Podbean, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Make sure you check us out. And also, if you have not hit that subscription link, go to our YouTube channel, DBDS Live. Also, make sure you mark your calendar for the next Queen Takeover, as my sister Mika and a host of other sisters on June 26th will break down relationships from a woman's perspective. All right. So now it's about that time for the Jerry Springer moment. What an amazing show. I'm first coming to my sister Cameryn. What are your final thoughts?
Well, my final thoughts on today are I'm glad we're having this conversation. It was obvious that it was a much needed conversation based on the response that we've gotten. So hopefully it, is able to bless others, basically. But, I just want, the ladies to walk away from this conversation knowing that you were created to be an amazing and a beautiful individual. What we're discussing today is toxic behavior. You do not have to be your behavior. You can change your behavior. And at the end of the day, being a child's mother is not something to be taken lightly. You are always on. And even if you feel as though after hearing today's conversation, you have made some mistakes in the past, you can change that today. You can walk a different path. You can walk a more positive path. You can take accountability for your behavior and quite possibly the pain that you are currently in, and know that there are people out here who would love to coach you there and, take you through therapy. But you have to make that decision that you are worth it.
Very well said, my sister. Woo. Next, I am coming to my brother Floyd. Phenomenal show, by the way. What are your final thoughts for today's show?
Everything that Cameron said is right on point. You don't have to finish the way you started. Again, you don't have to finish where you started. I had to do the work. I had to learn to love myself. I had to learn to heal, so I would not pass that on to my son and end the cycle. The cycle has got to be broken. Otherwise, if you don't deal with it, then who will? Your children, your grandkids? When will it stop? You have to choose that it's going to stop with you. You can't go back and redo what you've done, but you can move forward in a better direction.
Right.
With the help of the Lord, the help of God, and your determination, it's possible. I really would like to applaud the men that came in and was vulnerable, just to encourage you guys to stay on the path you're on. Just the fact that you guys was very vulnerable to some of the stuff you
Yeah.
guys shared. Know that you have myself, Carl, Tramel, that can relate to what you're going through. Um, just want to let you guys know that you're incredible men.
Mm.
You know, if you're a father, you are an incredible father. If you desire to be a father, heal, do the work, so you could leave a better legacy than what was given to you. You know, you may not have been handed the best legacy, but you can rewrite that legacy, and it could be a great thing. I'm a living witness to that. You know, Carla, living witness, Tramel, um, as far as men. Um, so again, just a incredible show. It was an honor and a blessing to be able to share this platform with you guys.
And here's the thing. Let's stop. And I love everything you and Cam stated. So let's come back to a place how we just uplift that comment you both stated. Sharing the vulnerability. We applaud you. My sisters, we applaud you. Let's start using those conversations. Instead of just fighting against each other or so very important. Man, Carl, man, what an amazing show. This show was just all fire, man. What are your final thoughts for today's show?
Yes, absolutely phenomenal show. To my sister Cameryn, my brother Floyd, love both of y'all, and just the wisdom, the impact that you guys have, even all the time, but especially with this. This again, this is a tough topic. This is a self-awareness. This is a look in the mirror. This is a hard grind on each side, because it's even from a child that may sit back and say, "Man, my mom is toxic. This is why I'm this way. How do I address this? How do I move forward with this? But Floyd said, both came actually, and Floyd said the same thing. Just because you're somewhere right now doesn't mean this is who you have to finish being. There are so many different things out there. When we understand there's a problem, there's resources. Use the resources. Use the resources out there to change those things, to break those things. And hey, if you're a mom watching this and you felt like you were a toxic mom and some of this stuff hit you, there's nothing wrong with picking up the phone and calling your child and apologizing. There's nothing wrong with picking up the phone and calling the father of your children, if it was towards him, and apologizing. That's a first step. Well, let me put it this way. That's the second step. First step is forgiving yourself. That's the first step. We all make mistakes. And again, sometimes we don't even realize we do certain things. We've done certain things. But when we're willing to forgive ourselves, and even if they don't accept the apology right now, it makes a difference. Trust me, it'll make a difference down the road. But then go do the work, because you don't want to be labeled a toxic person the whole time. It's not something you want to deal with and do the whole entire time. But, again, the men that commented, even the women that commented different things.
Yes.
I applaud you guys. I just really, it takes a lot to be open. And I give, like Jamel said, if we can approach relationships from the willingness to be vulnerable, and understand that things happen in life, and be open. I always tell people we need to be open to listen with our ears and eyes. We need to be able to listen with our ears and eyes. And when we're doing that and not listening to respond and allowing somebody to be vulnerable, we all grow. We all grow. And I think that's so much of the toxic culture we're in, where so many people are looking to respond when somebody says something, and be defensive when somebody says something they don't agree with, just simply from a standpoint of, because you don't want to look at yourself. So again, phenomenal show. We'll definitely probably have to do a part 2 to it down the road. And just like I said, I just encourage everyone to rewatch the show. If you watch the whole thing, rewatch it.
Absolutely.
I know sometimes I go back in and watch it again, and I always learn something different. But rewatch the show, and let's eliminate the word toxic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm just gonna pull up my sister Mika, who'll be on the Queen Takeover. Her last one more comment from Mika.
Do what you need to do to have a pure heart.
Ooh, thank you, Mika. Appreciate that. So, I'm just gonna bless the people with my final thoughts. So for my Jerry Springer moment, I just want to state that in order to change the narrative, we have to strive for openness, take responsibility, and get everyone on board, because right now, I believe there's a war going on between women who embrace their natural feminine essence and feminazis who embrace radical feminism. And if we don't change the narrative ourselves, then we will continue to have a decrease in marriage. Our communities will become even worse without any stability or structure. And as a whole, we will be at the bottom of the totem pole. All right. So now it's time to change our mindset and continue to have these hard conversations so we can change for the better and break this generational curse. So once again, I want to thank this amazing panel and much love to the DBDS family.
Take it away, Mel.